I accidentally walked into someone else's apartment and they were completely fine with it. I'd been working double shifts at the hospital for 3 weeks straight, barely getting any sleep. The ICU was understaffed, and every day felt like swimming upstream through endless emergencies. Last Tuesday night, I finally got home at 2 a.m., my scrub still smelling like disinfectant, keys jingling in my shaking hands from exhaustion. The hallway lights were broken again. Our landlord never fixes anything. I fumbled around in the dark, trying to find my door. When I finally got a key to turn, I practically fell through the entrance. Inside, there was a woman sitting cross-legged on a gray couch watching Netflix with a bowl of Lucky Charms. She had messy brown hair in a bun and was wearing an oversized sweater. She looked up at me like finding a stranger in her living room at 2 a.m. was completely normal. "Oh hey, you must be the new neighbor from 4A. I'm Sarah." My brain was running on fumes. I was so tired I couldn't even process how weird this was. "Yeah, hi, long day." She patted the cushion next to her. "Want some cereal? I'm watching this documentary about serial killers who worked at theme parks. It's completely insane." I should have left. I should have apologized and backed out immediately. Instead, I dropped my bag and sat down. She handed me a spoon without question, like we'd been roommates for years. For the next hour, we sat there sharing Lucky Charms and watching this crazy documentary. She told me about her job at some digital marketing firm downtown, how her boss makes everyone do trust falls every Monday. I complained about difficult patients and how the coffee machine in our break room has been broken for 2 months. "You sound like you need better coffee," she said, getting up to make some in her kitchen. "I have this French press that makes everything taste like a fancy cafe." The coffee was incredible. We ended up talking until 3:30 a.m. about random stuff. Her college roommate who became a professional dog walker, my medical school disaster stories, how we both hate people who don't use turn signals. When I finally got up to leave, she walked me to the door. "Same time tomorrow? I mean, if you're working late again." "Sure," I said, still half asleep. "Thanks for the cereal." Walking out, I looked at the apartment number and my heart stopped. 4B, not 4A. I'd been sitting in a complete stranger's living room for 2 hours. The layouts were identical, but now I noticed everything was slightly different. Her walls were painted sage green instead of white. She had plants everywhere, and her furniture was way nicer than mine. I stood there staring at my actual door, 4A, wondering how her key had worked in my lock. Then I realized it hadn't. Her door had just been unlocked. The next night, I told myself I'd go straight to my own apartment, but when I got home at 2 a.m. after another brutal shift, I found myself hesitating outside 4B instead of 4A. What if she was waiting? Sarah opened the door before I could knock, like she'd been listening for footsteps. "I made extra mac and cheese, the good kind with 3 different types of cheese." We fell into this routine. Every night I worked late, I'd end up at her place instead of mine. She always had snacks ready, sometimes fancy stuff like hummus and those expensive crackers, sometimes just microwave popcorn. We'd watch terrible reality TV shows and complain about our days. She told me about her ex who collected vintage lunchboxes and never threw away expired yogurt. I told her about the time I accidentally gave a patient someone else's medication and thought I'd killed them until I realized I'd actually given them a harmless vitamin. "You're way too hard on yourself," she said one night, curled up on the opposite end of the couch. "I bet you're an amazing nurse." 3 weeks in, I started bringing coffee from this place near the hospital that she mentioned loving. She started leaving little snacks outside my real apartment door. Granola bars, those fancy cheese crackers, once a whole container of homemade cookies. Neither of us ever acknowledged that this wasn't my apartment. We both just pretended like this was normal, like we'd planned to meet at 2 a.m. every night to eat random food and watch Netflix. Last month, she mentioned she'd never lived alone before. "It gets really quiet at night, you know? Especially after midnight when the whole building goes silent." "Yeah," I said. "Hospitals are the opposite. Never quiet, even at 3 a.m. I like having someone to talk to when the world feels too quiet. We've been doing this for 2 months now, meeting at 2 a.m., eating random snacks, watching terrible movies. Neither of us mentions that this isn't my apartment. Yesterday, she told me she's been leaving her door unlocked every night since we met because she was hoping I'd accidentally walk in again. I never used the wrong key that first night. Her door was just unlocked.